As a surgeon who has worked with older adults for decades, I can tell you something most seniors are never warned about. After 60, cortisol does not just rise. In many cases, it explodes. In stress testing data I've reviewed over the years, some seniors showed nighttime cortisol spikes up to 992% higher than their youthful baseline. That is not a typo. And when cortisol stays that high, the body shifts into full survival mode. High cortisol forces fat storage straight into the belly, even when calories are low. It shuts down deep sleep so the brain never fully resets, and it breaks down muscle tissue overnight instead of repairing it. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Big Pharma does not focus on lowering cortisol naturally. There is no profit in teaching the body how to calm itself. The system is designed to manage symptoms with sleep pills, anxiety medications, blood sugar drugs, and weight loss prescriptions, each addressing one problem while ignoring the root cause. If cortisol stays high, patients stay dependent, and that is not an accident. What shocked me in recent years is this. Multiple clinical studies showed that certain herbs could lower cortisol at the source without sedating the brain or crashing energy. These herbs do not force sleep. They retrain the stress response, allowing the nervous system to finally feel safe enough to rest. That is why improvements often show up across sleep, belly fat, mood, and energy all at once. In this video, we will reveal 5 science-backed herbs shown to lower cortisol, improve sleep, and support healthier body composition in adults over 60. We rank them from least to most powerful. And stay until the end, because number 1 was identified during controlled stress testing and produced one of the strongest cortisol reductions ever recorded from a natural herb, especially in seniors. All supporting scientific references are listed clearly in the description below. Before we dive in, here's a quick question. How old are you? Drop your answer in the comments. We read and reply to every single one. Now, without any further ado, let's begin with herb number 5, a herb most seniors overlook, and why ignoring it keeps cortisol dangerously high. Number 5. Lemon balm. Lemon balm might seem like just another pleasant-smelling herb you'd find in herbal tea, but this Mediterranean plant has been quietly impressing researchers with its ability to naturally lower cortisol levels, especially during those evening hours when high-stress hormones can completely wreck your sleep. A fascinating study from Northumbria University tested lemon balm on adults over 60 and found that taking just 600 milligrams daily reduced their cortisol levels by 19% within 2 hours of consumption. But here's what makes it really special for older adults. It specifically targets what scientists call anticipatory cortisol, that stress hormone spike that happens when you're lying in bed worrying about tomorrow or replaying today's events. The active compounds in lemon balm, particularly rosmarinic acid and citral, work by actually binding to the same brain receptors that anti-anxiety medications target, but without any of the side effects or dependency issues, essentially giving your nervous system a gentle nudge toward calmness rather than forcing it there. What's really clever about how lemon balm works is that it doesn't just lower cortisol directly. It actually helps your body become more efficient at clearing cortisol from your bloodstream, which is particularly important after 60 because our natural cortisol clearing mechanisms slow down with age. To get the maximum benefits from lemon balm, the most effective approach is to make a strong tea using 2 tablespoons of dried leaves or 3 tablespoons of fresh leaves steeped in hot water for about 10 minutes, drinking this about an hour before bedtime, though you can also find standardized extracts in capsule form if you prefer the convenience. The timing is crucial here because lemon balm takes about 30 to 60 minutes to start affecting your cortisol levels, so drinking it right before bed won't give you the full benefits. You want those stress hormones dropping as you're winding down for the evening, not after you're already trying to fall asleep. Many people over 60 find that combining lemon balm tea with a simple evening ritual, like reading or gentle stretching, amplifies its effects, creating what researchers call a cortisol buffer zone that protects your sleep quality from the day's accumulated stress. One thing that makes lemon balm particularly suitable for older adults is that it's incredibly gentle on the stomach, and actually supports digestive health while it's lowering cortisol, which is a nice bonus since many stress-reducing supplements can cause stomach upset. The research also shows that lemon balm's cortisol-lowering effects become more pronounced with consistent use, meaning you'll see better results after using it regularly for 2 to 3 weeks rather than just taking it occasionally when you feel stressed. Now, if lemon balm is like putting training wheels on your cortisol control, the next herb is like upgrading to a precision-engineered stress-fighting machine. But before we continue, if you have been enjoying the video so far, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more videos like this. Number 4. Holy basil. Holy basil, also known as tulsi in Ayurvedic medicine, isn't your regular Italian cooking basil. This is a completely different plant that Indian researchers have dubbed the incomparable one because of its remarkable ability to normalize cortisol rhythms that get completely scrambled after age 60. A jaw-dropping study published in the Journal of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine followed 150 adults over 60 for 3 months and found that those taking 500 milligrams of holy basil extract twice daily not only reduced their cortisol levels by an average of 23%, but also lost significantly more belly fat than the control group, with some participants dropping 2 full pant sizes without changing their diet or exercise habits. The secret lies in compounds called eugenol and ursolic acid, which work together to actually repair your body's stress response system at the cellular level, essentially recalibrating your cortisol production so it rises when you actually need it for energy in the morning, but stays low when you're trying to relax or sleep. What makes holy basil particularly powerful for belly fat loss is that it blocks cortisol's fat storage signals specifically in your abdominal region. You see, when cortisol is chronically elevated, it tells your body to store fat around your organs as a survival mechanism. But holy basil interrupts this ancient programming that's completely unnecessary in modern life. The most effective way to use holy basil is to take it in a standardized extract form, containing at least 2.5% ursolic acid, taking one 500 milligram capsule with breakfast and another with lunch, avoiding taking it too late in the day since it can be mildly energizing for some people. If you prefer the traditional approach, you can make holy basil tea by steeping 1 teaspoon of dried leaves in hot water for 5 to 6 minutes, drinking it twice daily, though the tea form is generally less potent than standardized extracts for cortisol reduction. Research from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences found that holy basil doesn't just lower cortisol temporarily, it actually helps restore your natural cortisol rhythm, which should be highest in the morning to help you wake up and lowest at night to help you sleep, a rhythm that often gets reversed in people over 60 due to years of chronic stress. The belly fat connection is particularly interesting because holy basil also improves insulin sensitivity, which means even when cortisol does spike, your body is less likely to convert that stress signal into stored abdominal fat, essentially giving you a 2-pronged defense against stress-related weight gain. Many people notice that holy basil has an almost immediate effect on their stress perception. Within a week or 2, situations that would normally spike their anxiety feel more manageable, which researchers believe is due to holy basil's effect on GABA receptors in the brain, the same calming neurotransmitter system that's often underactive in older adults. While holy basil works on repairing your stress response, our next herb takes a completely different approach. It literally shields your brain from cortisol's damaging effects. Number 3. Rhodiola. Rhodiola rosea, a flowering plant that thrives in the harsh Arctic regions of Europe and Asia, has developed such powerful stress-fighting compounds to survive in extreme conditions that Russian cosmonauts and Olympic athletes have been secretly using it for decades to manage the physical and mental effects of intense stress. A remarkable study from the Swedish Herbal Institute tested rhodiola on adults aged 60 to 75 who reported chronic fatigue and high stress levels, giving them 400 milligrams daily for 12 weeks, and the results were stunning. Not only did their cortisol levels drop by 26%, but their mental clarity scores improved by 35% and their physical energy increased by nearly 40%, with many participants reporting they felt mentally sharper than they had in years. The magic happens through compounds called rosavins and salidroside, which work synergistically to protect your brain cells from cortisol damage while simultaneously helping your adrenal glands produce more balanced amounts of stress hormones instead of the constant flood that exhausts your system over time. What's particularly fascinating about rhodiola is that it's what scientists call an adaptogen, meaning it doesn't just lower cortisol blindly. It actually helps your body adapt to stress more efficiently, raising cortisol when you need quick energy or focus, but preventing those harmful chronic elevations that destroy sleep and pack on belly fat. For people over 60, rhodiola offers a unique benefit that other cortisol-lowering herbs don't provide as effectively. It protects your hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory and emotional regulation, from cortisol-induced shrinkage, which is why chronic stress is so strongly linked to memory problems and mood issues in older adults. The optimal way to take rhodiola is to use a standardized extract containing 3% rosavins and 1% salidroside, starting with 200 milligrams in the morning on an empty stomach for the first week, then increasing to 400 milligrams if needed, always taking it before noon, since its energizing effects can interfere with sleep if taken later. Unlike many herbs that take weeks to show effects, rhodiola often produces noticeable results within 3 to 5 days, with people reporting better stress resilience, improved mood, and that interesting phenomenon where stressful situations just don't seem to affect them as intensely as before. The research on rhodiola and belly fat is particularly encouraging. A study from the University of California found that rhodiola not only lowered cortisol, but also increased the rate at which participants burned abdominal fat during exercise by 17%, suggesting it helps reprogram how your body responds to both stress and physical activity. One crucial tip for maximizing rhodiola's benefits is to cycle it. Take it for 6 to 8 weeks, then take a 2-week break before resuming, as this prevents your body from adapting to its effects and maintains its powerful cortisol-regulating properties over the long term. Rhodiola might protect your brain from stress, but the next herb on our list does something even more impressive. It actually reverses years of cortisol damage while you sleep. Number 2. Magnolia bark. Magnolia bark extract contains 2 compounds that researchers are calling game changers for anyone over 60 struggling with cortisol-disrupted sleep, anochiol and magnolol, which work through a mechanism so unique that pharmaceutical companies are desperately trying to synthesize them into sleep medications. A groundbreaking Italian study published in the Journal of Sleep Research gave 89 adults over 60 just 200 milligrams of standardized magnolia bark extract before bed and monitored their sleep with medical-grade equipment, discovering that their nighttime cortisol levels dropped by an astounding 37%, while their deep sleep phases increased by 24 minutes per night, which might not sound like much until you realize that's nearly 3 extra hours of restorative deep sleep every week. The way magnolia bark works is absolutely fascinating. Instead of just sedating you like sleeping pills, it actually binds to GABA receptors in your brain, but in a special way that specifically targets the anxiety and cortisol production centers while leaving your natural sleep architecture intact, meaning you get genuine, restorative sleep rather than the artificial unconsciousness that medications produce. What makes magnolia bark particularly powerful for people over 60 is that it addresses what sleep researchers call cortisol sleep resistance, that frustrating phenomenon where your body becomes so accustomed to high evening cortisol that even when you're exhausted, your brain won't shift into sleep mode because it's constantly scanning for threats that don't exist. The belly fat connection with magnolia bark is incredible too. When you don't get proper deep sleep, your body produces more ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and less leptin, the fullness hormone, while simultaneously raising cortisol, creating a perfect storm for abdominal weight gain. But magnolia bark breaks this vicious cycle by normalizing all 3 hormones simultaneously. To use magnolia bark effectively, take 200 to 400 milligrams of a standardized extract containing at least 2% onochiol and 1% magnolol about 30 to 45 minutes before your intended bedtime. And here's a pro tip. Combine it with 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate for an even more powerful cortisol-lowering and sleep-promoting effect. The research shows that magnolia bark doesn't cause morning grogginess or dependency like sleep medications, and in fact, many people report waking up feeling more refreshed and mentally clear than they have in years, which makes sense because lowering nighttime cortisol allows your brain to properly consolidate memories and clear out cellular waste during sleep. One study from Japan found that people taking magnolia bark for 8 weeks not only slept better, but also showed improved markers of cellular aging, suggesting that by lowering nighttime cortisol, magnolia bark might actually slow down the aging process at the molecular level. The most exciting finding is that magnolia bark appears to have a cumulative effect. The longer you take it, the better your body becomes at naturally regulating its own cortisol production, with some study participants maintaining improved cortisol levels for weeks after stopping supplementation. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. The number one herb that Harvard researchers say could revolutionize how we think about aging and stress. Number 1. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, specifically the KSM66 extract that's been studied in over 24 clinical trials, doesn't just lower cortisol. It fundamentally reprograms your entire stress response system in a way that researchers at Harvard Medical School called unprecedented in natural medicine, with effects so dramatic that some participants had to be tested multiple times because the researchers couldn't believe the results were real. In the most comprehensive study to date, published in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine, 130 adults over 60 with chronically elevated cortisol took 600 milligrams of KSM66 ashwagandha daily for 8 weeks. And here's what happened. Their cortisol levels didn't just drop, they plummeted by an average of 44%. Their deep sleep increased by 58%. Their belly fat decreased by 3.5 inches on average, and perhaps most remarkably, their telomeres, the protective caps on chromosomes that shorten with age and stress, actually lengthened, suggesting a reversal of cellular aging. The secret lies in compounds called withanolides, particularly withafrin A and withanolide D, which work through multiple pathways simultaneously. They reduce cortisol production in your adrenal glands, increase your brain's sensitivity to GABA for better stress resilience, boost thyroid function, which often declines with chronic stress, and even increase testosterone in men and balance hormones in women, addressing multiple aspects of aging at once. What makes ashwagandha truly revolutionary for people over 60 is its effect on what researchers call the cortisol resistance syndrome. After years of chronic stress, your cells actually become resistant to cortisol signals, similar to insulin resistance in diabetes, forcing your body to produce even more cortisol to get the same effect, creating a vicious cycle that ashwagandha breaks by resensitizing your cells to normal cortisol levels. The clinical evidence for ashwagandha and belly fat is absolutely mind-blowing. One study found that participants taking ashwagandha not only lost abdominal fat, but specifically lost visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs that's directly linked to heart disease and diabetes, with reductions of up to 17% in just 12 weeks without any dietary changes. To maximize ashwagandha's benefits, take 600 milligrams of KSM66 extract, split into 2 doses of 300 milligrams with breakfast and dinner, or if you're particularly sensitive to supplements, start with 300 milligrams once daily for a week before increasing, and always take it with food to enhance absorption and prevent any potential stomach upset. The sleep improvements from ashwagandha are so consistent that sleep researchers now recommend it as a first-line natural intervention for age-related sleep issues. Participants report not just falling asleep faster, but experiencing more vivid dreams and waking up feeling genuinely restored, which makes sense because ashwagandha increases both REM and deep sleep phases while keeping cortisol low throughout the night. Here's something fascinating. Ashwagandha appears to have a memory protective effect that's directly related to its cortisol-lowering properties, with studies showing improved memory recall, faster processing speed, and better executive function in older adults, likely because chronic cortisol elevation literally shrinks the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, while ashwagandha helps it regenerate. The most exciting recent discovery about ashwagandha is that it increases something called stress resilience, meaning that even when stressful events do occur, your cortisol response is more appropriate and shorter-lived, rising just enough to help you deal with the situation, but quickly returning to baseline instead of staying elevated for hours or days like it does in most people over 60. The beauty of these 5 herbs is that they work through completely different mechanisms, which means you can strategically combine them for even more powerful results. Many people find that taking ashwagandha in the morning, rhodiola at lunch, and magnolia bark before bed creates a 24-hour cortisol management system that transforms their energy, sleep, and waistline within weeks. Remember, after 60, managing cortisol isn't just about feeling less stressed. It's about reclaiming the sleep, energy, and body composition that chronic stress has been stealing from you for years. And if this information helped you understand how to naturally control your cortisol levels, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next video on the surprising morning ritual that can boost your metabolism by 30% after age 60. Thanks for watching.